What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Michelle Rena from IamMichelleRene.com, and I have a very special friend, believe it or not, my high school classmate, Miss Chandra now Swan. How are you, friend?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. You look so beautiful in your pearls with your pink ribbon. You just got it going on all the way with that beautiful smile.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to have you here. I don't want to tell your story. I want you to tell your story. So tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and why we are connecting at a time such as this.
All right. My name is Chandra Swan, as stated. I am originally from Jackson, Mississippi. Um, my story, I am a breast cancer survivor. 2017 was a new era for me. July 27th, I was officially diagnosed. I had some uh, complications kind of going on in the month of May with my cycle. And I'd never had any issues with my cycle. And I think that was kind of, I don't know if that was God letting me know that something was to come, but that was kind of the signal to my body that something was off. So
Right.
May kind of went around, June went around, things were still kind of off with it. July, we were going somewhere. I can't remember where we were going, but I jumped in the shower and something in my brain just said, touch your breast. I was never one to do the self checks, even though I probably should have. My aunt died from breast cancer several years ago, my mom's baby sister. So my family had kind of already been through a breast cancer battle. So I probably should have had it on my radar to do self checks, to get mammograms, even at that age. I felt like I could probably still make it to 40, but I probably should have been getting them at 35. But some said, touch your breast. When I touched my breast, I immediately put my hand on it. It was on the right side. It was a lump. And it felt like a school eraser, those pink flat erasers that we used to have in school. And it
Yeah.
felt like it was sitting right there. So I screamed. I was like upset. I'm like, oh my God, I feel this. And I went to my husband. I was like, do you feel this? And he was like, yeah, I feel it. So I called my mom and I'm in a frantic and I'm like, Mama, I feel something in my breast. And she was like, don't panic. We're going to call the doctor because we're not going to play with lumps. So I called my doctor, even though I had been going back and forth with my OBGYN about my cycle issues. I called her and I was like, well, now I feel a lump in my breast. So she was like, well, come on in. Went to see her. She wasn't in, so I had to see the nurse practitioner. And she said, okay, I definitely feel something. We're going to send you down for a mammogram. So I went for a mammogram. Mammogram results came back probably 2 days later. And they said, well, we do see something abnormal there, but don't be alarmed because we need a biopsy to prove that it's cancer. Women have lumps in their breasts all the time. So
Right.
don't go crazy. Let's do a biopsy. So they scheduled the biopsy. I went for the biopsy. That was a very different experience.
Right. Can you
Had that,
walk us through that a little bit? Because a lot of women don't know, like we hear those terms, mammogram, biopsy, and it kind of freaks us out because we are already afraid of the unknown. What is that experience like? What happens when they do the biopsy? Like, are you awake? What
yes,
happens?
you are awake. And every biopsy is different. Some people I know that have done it have had to like literally lay on their stomach and their breast fall down into like this area and they do it from there. I was on my back and they go in with a needle and it was like 2 clicks that they said they had to make and they were like, I promise we're not going to hurt you, but we just got to go in. They make a little incision and they go and they put little markers in. So they
Okay.
go in and they insert the little markers and you hear these little pop, these little clicks, and the sound is enough and then you feel it. And they were like, oh, we didn't want to hurt you. And of course, you're trying to keep your mind off of it. And I would like to say I'm a good patient when I go in. I try
Right.
to keep everything funny. But during that time, you are really still dealing with a ball of nerves. So I was a ball of nerves. I was the patient that I always had the fidget spinner because that was the way I just kept myself calm. They knew me by my fidget spinner. Um, so the biopsy went through, and then it comes the waiting game. You know, you have to sleep those nights trying to decide, Lord, what is this? I need my test results back. What's going on? I can't remember exactly how long the wait was to get the biopsy results back, but my OBGYN was trying to send me to a doctor through River Oaks, which is who she was through. But when my mom said, if we got to do surgery, we only go on with Dr. Martin. Reginald Martin had been the only doctor that had ever performed surgery on me. He had removed my gallbladder years ago. He's a trusted family friend, trusted doctor. If anybody's going to cut me, it's going to be him. So she was like, call her back, tell her, no, we're not going anywhere else but Reginald Martin. So I called Dr. Martin. He got the results and he could schedule me for July 27th. That was actually my first day back to work that school year. So I worked that day and I told them I had to leave at 2:30 because I had a 3 o'clock appointment with Dr. Martin. So my mom and my husband went with me. And we got in there. Martin took me back in the room and he was joking and he was like, did they hurt you doing that biopsy? And they shouldn't have hurt you and blah, 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 blah. And we just laughing and playing. And the words came out, okay, this is a breast cancer.
Wow.
And I was like, it's almost like he didn't say that. Did he say that? But
Right.
he was like, okay, I want you to get dressed, put your clothes on, and then we're going to go across to the conference room. I did not know there were conference rooms in a doctor's office. I had never been in one. I just go in the room, lay on the table, do my stuff, boom, get dressed and go. Honey, let me tell you, if you've never been in a conference room in a doctor's office, that is not where you want to be. Unless you are getting some very great news, that's not where you want to be. So I'm trying to get my clothes on and get dressed to go across the hall to this conference room. And he has the table all set up. He has my biopsy results and paperwork on there. He has this big chart with all these pictures of different types of cancer in the breast. And he has this book on the table that says Your Journey Through Breast Cancer. And he was
Right.
like, this is my gift to you. And I immediately got mad. I'm like, that's not a damn gift. You don't give somebody a book saying the journey through breast cancer. This is my gift to you. Like, my first emotion was anger. Like, are you freaking kidding me? So we sit down at the table and he starts to explain things. Now, for some reason, I know it had to be the power of God. I was like a sponge. I heard everything he said verbatim, and it was like I was a medical student. My mom was the calmest person in the room, but she didn't get anything. It's like everything went over her. My husband was a wreck.
Wow.
I was a wreck. I was crying. I was a ball of just horrible, horrible emotions. But I heard every word he said. And I heard him say, well, there are two types of cancer. They're invasive and in situ. In situ means that it's in that spot, it's confined, and we're good. And when he said invasive means it's opened up and it has the ability to spread. And I looked at my paperwork before he could say it, and I saw invasive on my paperwork, and I lost it. And he started to talk, and I started immediately sitting there. And the first thought, the initial thought was, oh my God, I'm finna put my family back through this. So I
Right.
started to immediately feel sorry for my family. My husband's gonna be a widow. My mama dealt with the loss of her sister and walked through her with cancer. Now she has to watch her child do it and then bury her child possibly. My dad, I just started thinking about everybody around me, my family, my students, my basketball players I was coaching. And I started to feel sorry for everybody but myself. At that point, I wasn't the issue. At that point, everybody else was. So
Yeah.
I
You
started
become
to,
a martyr like to everything. You forget that you're the person that actually is going through this, right?
yeah. So I started to think, okay, let me listen and see how long he tells me I have to live. Let me just listen. So I kept listening, kept listening. He never gave me an expiration date. So he finally said, I said, well, Doc, I just started school today. What do I do about teaching? And what do I do about my girls? What do I do about coaching? He said, Chandra, I can't promise you that you will coach this year or that you will teach this year. He said, you got a whole year to fight for your life. He said, and you got to fight like you've never fought before. So when he said that, the bulb went off that, okay, he didn't tell me I was going to die. He told me I got to fight. So there's a chance that I can live. So now I got to dig deep. Where I've been coaching people and pushing people, how deep can the coach dig and coach herself? And I'm gonna
That's
tell you,
right, coach.
the coach got weak a lot of days, but there were so many people. My circle is so strong, and I know I'm living on the prayers of grandmothers to pass and so many other people that have prayed for me. And my circle has always been just amazing. And that circle pushed me. So when he said that, we left it that day, and it was a solemn ride home. It was a very solemn ride home. I called probably two of my closest friends, or only two people I told right then. And I had to make the phone call to tell my principal that I wouldn't be back that year and
Right.
why. And I told him I wanted to be able to tell the basketball girls to their face and let them know. So he gave me that opportunity to do that. And that was hard to do, uh, especially when you build relationships with kids and you build programs and you're ready to get things started and your life has just been moving in a certain way. And then all of a sudden, it comes to a halt.
Yes.
So that was a long night, a long day. And then I had to start to prepare my mind to fight. So Dr. Martin's words were, we're doing surgery immediately. So I talked to a few people that had fought breast cancer, and people just began to connect me with people, friends that I had. Oh, I know somebody that fought breast cancer. Talk to this person, talk to that person. And one of the first people I talked to, she said, let me tell you something. If they want to do surgery on you now, that's good. She said, most people, they want to do chemo or radiation first to shrink the tumor. But she said, if they want to do surgery first, you are already standing in a good spot.
That's
So,
right.
okay. Maybe it's not as bad as I think. You know, people live with cancer all the time, all types of cancer. I can do this. And prior to this, let me rewind. I had started to see and research things about Dr. Sabi, however you want to say it.
Mhm.
He had come up on my timeline on Facebook or something when he died, and I kept trying to figure out, who is this guy? What is all these people talking about? This herbalist? What does he do? So I
Right.
had started talking to one of my close friends about, maybe we need to start incorporating some of these things in our diet. So we had already
Mhm.
been talking about making this change probably 6 months before this happened. So now when I get this breast cancer diagnosis, I'm really gung ho on, I got to clean up how I'm eating. I know then I felt like I had caused it. My life is stressful. I teach, I work with other people's children. That is the most stressful job that
You
you can
know,
do.
I know.
I coach. That's stress on top of stress. I
Yeah,
try to be a decent wife. I try to be a decent daughter. I try to keep a decent home. It's just the stress of life. So I was like, okay, I stress. I work long hours. I eat horrible, even though I know better. I'm a health and PE teacher. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know the amount of exercise I should get. I know what I should eat. But when you're teaching and coaching and your nights go until 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you go through a drive-through, you get something, you go home, you eat, you bathe, and you start the day all over. And it
that's
becomes your
right.
cycle. So I started to feel like I did this. I caused this crap on myself because you knew better, Chandra. And this is God telling you, you better get it together. So I immediately, at that thought, everything that was unhealthy became completely nasty to me. I can't say that now. But at that point, I went completely vegan for that entire process.
Right.
And I think that may have helped me push through chemo a little bit better. Chemo was rough, but I still did a whole lot better than I hear some people say, but I struggled through it. So that I think kind of helped me through. But I just had to get prepared for the fight of my life. So getting prepared, Dr. Martin said we are doing surgery immediately. So I had a double mastectomy with immediate reconstruction on August 14th. So he
I
tried.
remember that day because that's my birthday. And so I'm like, when you posted it, I was like, you know how something takes you back and you go, whoa, 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 what is happening here?
Tried to set it for, because I got diagnosed on the 27th. He tried to set it for like August 1st or something like that. And I was like, I need time. I was like, I got to let these people know I'm not coming back to work. I need
Yeah.
to get some stuff in order, get my house in order, see how we're going to work things out before I say, okay, I'm going under the knife. Can you give me a week or two? He was like, the 14th, that's it. We're not going longer than that. So I was like, okay, let's do the 14th. So I had a little time to get some stuff in order, get my paperwork, insurance, all that kind of stuff, just situated. Went under the knife, did a double mastectomy with immediate reconstruction. He established a dream team for me. Dr. Martin was my surgeon. Dr. Manny was my plastic surgeon, and Dr. Q was my oncologist. And he told me I didn't have a choice. Most patients kind of get to pick their oncologists and all of that. He was like, this is who you got, and this who you don't have an option. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, here we go. So I had the ultimate choice of making the decision, did I want a double or a single mastectomy? And he told me, it's up to you. He said, mama can't make the decision, husband can't make the decision because you have to live with this. He said, I'm gonna tell you what your options are. He said, you can do a single mastectomy. He said, and we can match the implant to look like the other side, the real breast. He said, but you will begin, and when you age, the real breast will start to sag, the other one will sit up. So you gotta think about symmetry. Do you want that? He said you could do double mastectomy and not do reconstruction, and then you can wear prosthetics or
Yeah.
just wearing the padded bras or whatever. And I thought about that, and I was like, I don't know. He said, at your age, you're young, you kind of want to have a little symmetry. So I wrestled with it. I researched everything: the survival rate of a single mastectomy, the survival rate of a double mastectomy. I wasn't a candidate for a lumpectomy because of the size of the mass. It would have taken more of my breast than he would have liked to take. So that wasn't even the case. So I just, in my mind, I said, well, this is already scary enough. I don't want to ever deal with this again. Take them both. I don't need them. I can live without breasts.
Right.
I can make, we can mask and make things look different. When I step out of the shower, it's a constant reminder every day of what I've been through. So it's a victory, but it's, sometimes as women, two most important things we lose in a breast cancer battle, our breast and our hair. I
Yeah.
mean, to a woman, that's everything. That's our femininity. That's who we are. And that kind of gets ripped from you. So I said, well, I'm fighting for my life. It's not about how I look. It's not about what other people think. It's about I'm still alive and I still have a chance to do what God has put me here to do. So we fought the battle. I had that double mastectomy. About 3 weeks into that, I had leakage on the right side. And I was always the patient that we've never seen this before. So here I go back to the hospital. Right breast is leaking on the incision. Why are we leaking? So we thought maybe the incision had come up. When they looked at it, they were like, no, that's it. We're going to have to go back in. So I had to have another surgery. Thank God I did not set up any infection. But what had happened was they put the tissue expanders in when they removed the breast, And tissue expanders, they fill every 2 weeks to start making room for the implants because they remove everything. So they have to start making room for the implants. Well, where they put the tissue expander in, they put a piece of derma skin on top of it. Well, the derma skin had ruptured and the tissue expander pushed through. So that's why I had leakage. So both doctors said in the 20 years that they have been doing this, they had never seen it. So here I go, that we've never seen this patient going back under the knife with the second surgery. That was unexpected. So chemo was supposed to start in September. It didn't start until late October. I did 8 rounds of chemo. I did not have to do radiation. When he removed the tumor, it was stage 2 because of the size. It had not spread to the lymph nodes, so I was super blessed that it hadn't spread to the lymph nodes. However, it was a grade 3 cancer, which is the highest grade you can get, which means, and the grade comes on how radical it is or how aggressive it is.
Yes.
So stage 3 means that it was really, it was an aggressive form. I was HER2 negative, but progesterone and estrogen positive. So what we could conclude is that my body produced the cancer because of the overproduction of estrogen in my body, progesterone in my body. So I started to blame myself again. Lord, the years of birth control. Maybe I should have never took birth control. They, OBGYNs tell you all the time, oh, it's safe, you'll be fine, blah, 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 blah. But they making money. So I'm like, did I do this to myself? I would have rather had a baby at 16 than to have cancer at 38. If that's,
right.
if we want to be, if we want to
rationalize it, right? We started trying to be for real.
So you go through all these thoughts in your head, maybe I should have just, boom, if I had been a teenage mother, that would have been a whole lot easier than 38, 30, 35, 36, finding out, oh my God, I have breast cancer. So I started to blame myself for things and thinking about things. And your mind goes in all these places. So I started to meet people, and this lady told me, she said, you really need to start meditating. And I thought that was so crazy. I was like, I see people meditate. That's crazy. Like they sit there and fold their arms and what does that do? You wouldn't believe what meditation did for my life. Every time I would go in for a surgery or something and I would be nervous, they would take my blood pressure, be through the roof, and I would tell the nurse, give me 1 second. And I would put my headphones on, and I had this app called Insight Timer, and I would find a 1 or a 2 minute meditation, and I would just sit on the bed in the hospital room and do that meditation, close my eyes and relax. They would come back and take my blood pressure, it'd be perfect, and I would say, let's go. So I would have to meditate sometimes to get myself away from the thoughts, the worldly things that I wanted to think, to bring myself back to God's got this. God, whatever happens, whether I think it's good or bad, God has got it. It's already playing. My life has already been mapped out. I'm trying to figure it out. He knows what the deal is. So I'm trying to figure it out, which is stupid because I'm not God. So the first round of chemo comes around in October, and it was the worst. Michelle, I have never been that sick in my life. And everybody was like, oh, you're not gonna be sick the first day. It's usually like the second or third day. If I got chemo on a Wednesday at 10 o'clock, by 2 o'clock, I was sick as a dog. Wow. It hit me that day. And chemo is a poison. It is a poison. It poisons your body. Dr. Q likes to say, we're going to burn the body out. We're going to burn it out, clean out everything. And my question was, why did I need chemo? Because when they removed it, Dr. Martin said, we got everything and it hadn't spread. So why do I need chemo? So Dr. Q said, well, here's the thing. Cancer is smart. When it feels like you've tried to attack it, it can make itself smaller and hide. So he said, PET scans, CT scans, all of that can detect cancer a certain size. But if it's smaller than that size and it's radical and it's hiding, like, okay, they're trying to attack me, let me get back, the PET scan won't pick it up. So he said, we want to kill all the cells in the body so we can just start over. We're going to burn it out. So when he gave me that speech, I was like, all right, let's do it. But after that first round, I told my mom and my husband, I'm not taking any more chemo. And I was dead serious. I'm not taking any more. I just take whatever come to me, but that I have never felt like that. And when I say, let me give you an idea. Okay, so it's long. I took Cytoxin and Adriamycin, which they call Red Devil. It comes in a red syringe. In a syringe, it's red. They have to give it to you slowly. And some people like to say, oh, it's the blood of Jesus. No, ma'am. Nothing about Jesus would ever make me feel like that. That is Red Devil.
Right.
And it makes you completely sick. I had the worst nausea I have ever had in my 24-hour, 365 nausea. It felt like if I moved an inch, I was going to throw up everywhere. I've never been nauseated to that extent in my life. I was on 2 different nausea meds. Those meds could constipate me, so I was on something to keep me from being constipated. The cytoxin messed with your kidney, so I had to use the restroom every 2 hours to ensure that my kidneys weren't messed up. But I didn't want to move. When I got home and got in the bed, I needed to be in a dark room, quiet. Don't touch me. Don't ask me nothing. Just leave me alone. And I was there probably for 3 or 4 days, maybe 4 or 5 days before I started to feel better. Then they stick this little thing on your stomach called Neulasta. That's a shot that injects in you the next day that's supposed to kind of pep you up and make you feel a little better. So you got this little shot stuck on you that's going to inject medicine the next day. So after you've been pricked and probed that one day, it doesn't end the next day, even though you're at home. And then you feel bad for the remainder of that week. And just about when I was ready to feel better,
you had to go back for the next round.
For the next round. Yeah. So just as I was getting a little peck and could get out the bed and start to come up to the living room, my daddy would say, "Oh, I love when you sit up," because I was down so much. And I was like, it's almost time to go back. You know, I would have maybe one day where I felt good and then it was back to it. So I had decided I'm not going to do it anymore. So it took my mother. My mother looked me in the face one day, and I'm going to be real and candid right here. And my mama said, "Okay, Chandra, I hear what you're saying, and I know you were sick, but we in this to fight. We in this to fight, and we in this to win." And she looked me square in the eye, and she said, "I didn't raise no weak-ass children." Those were her words.
Miss Petra said that.
She said those words to me. And when I tell you I got my entire life, I got it together. I said, okay, wait a minute. Wait, Queen.
Oh, wow.
She said, I didn't raise no weak ass children. And that spoke volumes to me. And we are really.
But sometimes you, as a coach, sometimes you need a kick in the butt so that you can get it together, because everything about it sounds like you already knew. You went in knowing that you were in the fight of your life, right? Mm-hmm. And you knew it was going to be hard, but something in your head said, "Oh, it won't be that hard because I'm Chandra, I got this." But it's like, no, boo, it's still going to be hard. So I need you to shift in.
It was not an easy moment in there anyway. So when she told me that, I kicked in the gear, because, we're pretty prideful family about our name. My daddy always told us when we left the house, "You got my name attached to you. Don't embarrass me."
Right.
So, I was crazy. Real big on, I got to protect the name. My daddy said, "Don't do that."
Right.
So, when she told me that, I knew I had to get my life together. So I sucked it up, and baby, we went through. So we started doing a countdown. You got one treatment down, we just gonna mark them down. We're gonna take them one at a time. We're gonna bite this thing like a hamburger. So I get through it. I take all the meds. I feel all kind of ways. I never did throw up, but I felt like I was gonna throw up any day out. But I just had to lay still. And they would ask me all the time, "How you feel?" I couldn't talk. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to be bothered. Just please, just leave me alone. And it gave like 3 or 4 days to let me get through, sometimes 5, 6 days, and I'll be okay. And then it starts to accumulate in your system. So the first one, it might have taken me 3 or 4 days to kind of feel better. By the second, third, fourth treatment, it took me longer and longer and longer, because it's accumulating in your system now. Right. So I didn't lose my hair after the first one. I was thinking, "Oh, I'm good." So this is another good piece of advice a lady told me. She said, "Go ahead and shave your hair now, because it's going to be traumatic for your hair to fall out." And I'm thinking, it ain't gonna bother me that much. So I started to kind of trim it down, leading up after the surgery. We started trimming it down, getting it shorter and shorter and shorter. So I was like, okay, this is fine. So finally I had it just about probably wavelength all the way over when I took the first treatment. And I remember just standing over a paper towel trying to do that. And I was like, it ain't coming out. I might be good. And I was like, okay, I'm good. Second treatment, honey, came back, got off the pillow. It was hair on the pillow. I went and washed my hair, and it was like just coming out in my hand. And I was like, oh my God, like I literally started crying. I'm thinking, it's not going to be traumatic for me. I'm fine. I've already been cutting my hair. It is nothing like seeing your hair come out in clumps. So then we just went ahead, and what was still up to the head, just shaved it. We just got a razor and shaved it off. You lose eyebrows. Let me tell you this, I look like a turtle. You need your eyebrows. You can lose every stitch of hair on your head.
Man, I don't have any eyebrows. If I don't draw these eyebrows, I look like a completely different human.
Eyebrows are vital to your face. Let me say this to every lady
in the turtle.
They are vital. You can be completely bald. Bald head don't mean nothing, but baby, you got to have some eyebrows. It separates. I was looking like a turtle, a pure turtle. I lost eyebrows. I lost eyelash. Every stitch of hair on my body. And yes, if you're thinking that, I lost that too. Every stitch of hair. And I purposely stopped shaving my legs and arms just to see when I would take a bath, what would be left in the tub. I wanted to see it. And the chemo was so harsh, it took all the hair. It turned my fingernails and my toenails black. I lost my fingerprints. Like nobody prepares you for that. Nobody told me that. I had to call a friend of mine and I was like, did you lose your fingerprint? She was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I was like, my fingers are slick. Like I couldn't get in my cell phone, because you
Right.
had to use your thumbprint and it wouldn't let me get in my phone. So I was like, who knew I would lose? I could have robbed a bank. I didn't have no hair and no fingerprints.
Yeah.
That was the perfect time to rob a bank if I wanted to. Um,
But it's it's
nobody,
it's how do you prepare a person? How do you tell a person those things? Like would it have changed the way it impacted you when it happened if you knew? Because the lady had already told you to go ahead and shave your hair.
some
You're
things
like,
I
oh
knew
my God, this is not going it's not gonna traumatize me. And
right.
it still did.
Still
Like,
did. Still did. I don't think you can prepare for it, but it's good to know. I had, like I said, a lot of help. One of my coworkers, Kim Waddy, she had gone through the exact same thing as me, probably a year or two ahead of me. So when she found out my diagnosis, she came and talked to me. She called me all the time. She came to my very first chemo treatment. She was there and she literally held my hand and walked me through it. And we pretty much had, because I didn't learn that I thought chemo was chemo. I didn't know there were different types. I
yeah,
didn't know that they catered chemo to your specific body, your specific need. Like they make a
it's your
cocktail.
cocktail.
Yes, I had no idea, and I've lost people in my family from cancer, but sometimes in the Black culture, we don't talk about our diseases. We don't talk about the things that happen to us or what we go through. And I wanted to know more about my aunt's situation after I got diagnosed. Well, what type did she have? Well, what stage was hers when she found out? Because she was in remission for 9 years and it came back in her neck, and she went down faster when it came back. But it's like I wanted to know so much more. But Miss Waddy walked me through everything, and we basically had almost the identical situation. Ours was very, very similar. So she held me through that, and we are still friends to this day and talk all the time. And she just was really a blessing to me. And I, like I said, met so many people through this journey. And one particular person that I met, Gina, and I met her through Coach Knight. He introduced me to her, and she worked at Jackson State, and she did this thing called the Beauty of Cancer. And Gina passed, but she was one of the first people that I talked to, and she was battling the disease. And she told me these words one night. She said, Chandra, don't waste your cancer. And I said, what does that mean?
Mm.
I kept trying to say, I don't want to claim it. It's not my cancer. I don't have no cancer. Don't speak it. Don't say it. She was like, what you're going through, somebody's standing in it. Somebody's going through it now. They're not talking about it. Somebody will be going through it, or somebody in your family close may go through it, and they need to know your story. They need to know that somebody can survive. They need to know that you can stand up in this and still be great. They need to know that you can push through. They need to know what you went through. And then I started to think about my niece, and I was like, I want her to see this. I want her to see me losing my hair. I want her to see these scars. I want her to know this. So if for any reason, and God forbid, I hope it never happens to her, it happens to her, she will know my aunt did this and she can do this. And this is what TT had. And TT had this going. I want to leave everything laid out for her. All the paperwork, everything. This is what happened. So if you ever cross that bridge, it's here. Here's the blueprint that I had. It may not work for you. This is,
You
but it's
just took it out of my head. I immediately I was like, it's like a blueprint or a playbook, right?
what I
Thinking
had.
about
This
a
is what
coach and having this play to say, you know what? Well, if it does this, we're gonna do this. Or if it goes this way, we got a plan for that. Like that's such a powerful phrase. Don't waste your cancer.
Don't waste your cancer. So that's when I went to social media and kind of started sharing my story, because I really was going to just keep it to myself and my immediate friends and family. Nobody would ever know. And if you notice back to my original post, I didn't post until after I had had my surgery. I had had a mastectomy and everything.
Yeah.
And I was getting ready, had the second surgery. And finally, I came out with it. So when she said that, I was like, okay, she's speaking volumes. And I liked what she was doing, even though she was fighting the battle of her life, literally.
Yeah.
uh, she was still doing Beauty of Cancer. I did a whole photo shoot. She was like, I want bald head pictures. I want people to see the cancer is still beautiful. I did a photo shoot, bald head, topless, all types of things. And she displayed these pictures in the Mississippi Museum of Art. I did all kind of events because of things that Gina introduced me to. But she just kind of inspired me. Her story was inspirational. She was doing a documentary. She was doing all kind of things. And she just kept all of this energy. And no matter what she was going through, you couldn't tell. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know it at all. So I was like, okay, I need that same spirit. I need to get myself together and stop feeling sorry for myself and get up off of my butt and do some things. I have my days where I feel bad, but Chandra, when you feel good, get up and move, get up and do some things. So I would have Tammy would come and get me some days when I would feel good, and we would go to the juice bar and get a juice. And we just come back in, just let me get out a little bit. Let me get some sun on my skin, because I'm in the house like a vampire on the days that I feel horrible. So It was a rough, chemo lasted from October to February. That was a rough few months. Chemo was really harsh. It did do me pretty bad, but I pushed through. I didn't eat much during that time. I needed to stay hydrated, and I wasn't drinking much because also chemo, what I was taking had my mouth coated, and it had like a white coating in my mouth, and everything tastes like lead, tastes weird. So water was horrible tasting. So the only thing I was pretty much eating at that time was I could get apple slices down if they were cold, green Gatorade, lemon heads, Dum Dums, banana popsicles, every now and then ginger ale. That was about it for me. So they were trying to, what can you eat? I was losing weight. What can you drink? We got to keep you hydrated. So the nurses were saying, if she's eating popsicles, give her popsicles. We just need anything in her to keep her hydrated because I could not drink water. Water was going to make me throw it all back up.
Wow.
So I had great friends. My friend Stephanie, boy, she would do porch drive-bys and drive by and drop dum-dums and lemon heads and chips off all the time. I could eat pickles every now and then. I'm not a big pickle eater, but people just were in my corner. Tammy could find them doggone popsicles. It was wintertime. You know, it's hard to find popsicles. A certain kind I liked. She could find them in the winter. December, she was finding popsicles. When everybody else would go to the store, my dad would go, I couldn't find them. My husband would go, I couldn't find the popsicles. Tammy could find them popsicles. Tammy could also get her butt in St. Dominic's at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning when they locked the hospital. I would look up, she'd be standing in the doorway. I'm like, how you been? Don't worry about it. I can
That's the
get
power of friendship, baby. We would do
when I say
anything.
friend, that crazy girl could get in that hospital. I don't know how she was doing it, but she could get in there. If she had to work late or whatever she had going on, if she couldn't get there to after midnight, she was still coming. Not a day went by, and I know I was out of it a lot of days, but I know some days she just stood in the doorway and looked at me, if whether I was in the hospital or at home.
Yeah.
She was just there just to see, let me see what you look like today. Now I found a book that I had where I had written notes in it because I couldn't talk, so they would ask me things, so I would write it down. And I found that book one day, and I was like, I got to keep this because I remember when it was horrible feeling to open my mouth. So let me just write down what I need or what I need to tell y'all. So we pushed through, man. So February came, we finished up chemo, and then I'm thinking, okay, I'm out of the clear. Maybe I can start to heal, recover, and boom, in March, pneumonia.
Oh my
I came home one day from having I was getting my tissue expanders filled, and I feel like I got it filled on a Thursday. It was either Wednesday or Thursday, and I started to have a little chest pain. And I said, well, maybe he overfilled. So I called Dr. Manny back, and I was like, we're gonna have to take some of this out because my chest is hurting. And he was like, well, just take a muscle relaxer and this and that, and let me know how you feel the next day. And some kind of way it wound up being the weekend. And he was out playing golf, and it started hurting even worse. And then I was hurting in my neck, and I was like, my neck and my chest are hurting. I said, this tissue expander, and we're still thinking tissue expander, neck and chest hurting. Then it started going through the arm. By that Sunday, I could not breathe. I stopped breathing. I was running fever. I had chills, and I was literally, and we went running to the emergency room. When I got to that point, mom was like, okay, she's not breathing. My mama eyes was big as saucer. She was scared. She was like terrified. So she was like, let's get you there. So I went into St. Dominic that night, and I told them I was having chest pain. I couldn't talk. Mom told them I was having chest pains. And literally when you say chest pains, they took me boom,
Oh
straight
yeah,
to the
they
back.
move.
I went straight to the back. They hooked me up to everything. I did a chest scan. I did a CT scan. I did an echo, cardiogram, did all kind of stuff. EKG, you name it, I did it. Spent the night in the hospital. They admitted me. They noticed that the left lung, the bottom was collapsed to the left lung. I had a collapsed left lung, pneumonia was in that lung, and they had to go through my back the next day because I went in at night. The next day they had to sit me on a table while I'm wide awake, go through my back with a needle to drain the fluid from that lung. Well, I'm listening to all this draining and all this stuff, and the doctor's like, we good as long as no blood comes out. If blood comes out, then that means it's cancer in there. And I'm not, why they saying this to me? And I'm already dealing with a cancer battle. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So we drain the lung, get back in there. I can start to breathe better now. You can immediately feel when they drain it, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
because I couldn't lay down. I was sitting up in a recliner trying to sleep. When I laid down, it felt like I was gonna die. So I was sitting up sleeping. We had not yet, well, when I was at the house, we hadn't figured out that I couldn't lay down and sleep. I was just sitting up. We didn't know why. And then after they drained the arm, I stayed in the hospital the next day. We got the fever down, and they were trying to drain. They thought it was my heart because when they checked my heart, they were like, it's fluid around the heart. So we called my cousin, who's a cardiologist, and he's a lifesaver as well. And he was like, let me tell you something. He said, do not let them drain or stick anything in your heart. He said, whatever is going on with that lung is what's causing the heart to try to protect itself. That's why
Right.
there's fluid around your heart. They were trying to drain they had called a cardiologist in and were trying to drain fluid from my heart. He said, if they go in there and hit the wrong artery, you gone. He said,
Yeah.
don't let anybody drain anything from your heart. They need to fix that lung. So when he said that, we went to telling the doctors what to do. Don't touch my heart. And they were
Right.
like, okay, well, we got to get somebody. We got to get this going, got to get that going. So luckily that was the case. When they drained the lung, everything in the heart went back to normal. So, and that was the other sign. When I went to the doctor that day for that field, my heart rate was increased. When she took my blood pressure, she was like, oh, your heart rate, my resting heart rate was at like 127. And she was like, oh, your heart rate never been that high. Are you nervous? And I was like, a little bit, but I wasn't having any chest pain. So that was the first sign right there that something was building up, that the pneumonia was building up and I didn't know it. But anyway, we got through that battle, and 3 days later I went home, and left arm started to swell up and chest started hurting again, went back into the hospital. There was residual fluid still left in the lung, and now I had a blood clot in the left lungs, had residual fluid and a blood clot in the left arm from the IV from the first time. So now here's another battle. And here I was, we've never seen this. This third time I heard, we've never seen this. So I'm like, well, I just finished chemo. Is chemo causing this? And they were like, well, that's very true. You know, chemo makes your system weak. A lot of people get pneumonia dealing with chemo and X, Y, and Z. So went through that battle. And of course, pneumonia is something that takes a while to kind of clear up. So it was a
Yeah.
good minute before I was not just winded from walking to, from the bedroom to the kitchen. But we pushed through that and made it through. And thank God after that battle. Now that's where the meat eating came back. So when I went in, I was completely vegan. I was just, I wasn't eating much on chemo anyway. Then I went to this vegan plant-based lifestyle. I was really more plant-based than vegan. And I was doing a lot of green leafy vegetables and just things that were good for me, taking good supplements and just really on it. But when I got pneumonia and I wouldn't eat then and I was really sick and down, they put me on a super high dose of prednisone. I hate prednisone. So they had to shock my body into thinking that, okay, you're healed, you're cured. So my body had to feel like I was healed, so it would start to pump harder and heal itself. So I was taking 2 tablets of prednisone twice a day.
And that's the steroid, right?
Right, that's a
Yeah.
steroid. So that increased that appetite, and every 5 minutes I was like, what we gonna eat? What we gonna eat? What we gonna eat? What we gonna eat? So then that's when the weight came back. That's when I started back eating meat, because it was like, oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. Yeah, let me bite that chicken. Let me do this. So food started to look good again. So I've been fighting that battle since pregnant. That was 2018, and I still can't get back on plant-based. So I'm still fighting that to get back completely plant-based. I have my moments. Sometimes I do really well, and sometimes it's like, forget it. I'm gonna have some chicken. I'm gonna have a piece of steak. I'm gonna have some turkey and dressing. But most times, even when I eat bad, I try to just still do chicken and fish. I try to cut red meat as much as possible. If I could really just be pescatarian right now, I'd be completely satisfied with that. But I have my days.
Absolutely.
So that's part of my struggle too that I battle with now. But that is that's the bulk of the journey. Things never are the same. Doctor's appointments are not the same.
Right.
When you go in now, it's a different fear factor inside. When they have news for you, you feel a different way now. Lord, what are they going to tell me now?
Yeah.
The way you do things every day is not the same. When I exercise now, I wear a sleeve, my lymphedema sleeve, and this is just because I had lymph nodes removed. And a lot of times people look at it and say, oh, you've been tatted up. And I picked this sleeve. It's dirty now because I've been walking. But I wear this on my right side. I had one for both arms, but I picked this one because I said, if I'm gonna have to wear this sleeve, I want it to look like something funky. So it looks like I'm tatted up when I have it on. So if I'm doing airplane rides or driving and riding for a long period of time or exercising, I have to have it on because I had lymph nodes removed. So that kind of changes life. Due to the type of breast cancer that I had, because it was estrogen positive, I had to have a complete hysterectomy. So I had that done. Matter of fact, this past January, I had that done. And we kind of prolonged that because so much went wrong after chemo.
Right.
Dr. Martin was like, we're not going to rush into it. We're going to get it done, but we need to do it sooner than later. And the straw on that was right at Christmas time. We went home for Christmas and I was having pain on my right side, just really, really, really hurting. And it got real bad. And I wound up having to go to the ER, and I had a cyst that had developed on my right ovary. And that scared me because now I'm like, is it a cyst or is it a tumor?
Right.
So I started calling Dr. Martin. I was like, we got to do something. And I called my OBGYN and she was like, well, we can do surgery and get it out. And when I called him and told him that she had scheduled it, Dr. Martin said, and these are his words, I can't remember the exact way he said it, but he cursed me. He was like, kill that shit. This is what we doing. Cancel that appointment. You're going, this doctor is going to do the surgery. Not the doctor you done went to. This doctor's going to do it. He was like, I completely trust this guy. And he's an oncologist, OBGYN. So even when he goes in to do the surgery, he can check and see if anything is cancerous. Whereas if my OBGYN had done it, she was going to have to send it off. We're going to have to wait on stuff. He could
Right.
tell
You
right if
need
it's.
results right then.
So Dr. Martin said, because of your history, we're not playing with this. This is the doctor that's doing it. You don't have an option. I'm scheduling. I mean, he changed my whole, I had a surgery scheduled for a Wednesday and I called him on a Monday. He changed everything over to a new doctor, new hospital, new everything for that same day, for that Wednesday. I still did a Wednesday surgery. And the doctor that did the surgery, he called me on a Saturday and he said, you must be pretty special. And I said, no, you must be pretty special. He said, Dr. Martin called me and told me to change my schedule. He said, so I had
Wow.
to change my schedule for you. And I said, well, he changed my schedule and told me I had to come to you. So we are both special people. So I'm coming to meet you and we're going to specially go in this room and get this thing done right. So we did a complete hysterectomy. I had already had a history of fibroids. He got all of that out of there. I asked him, I said, how many was it? How big? He said, too many to name. So we got all of that out and now life is good. I mean, I really can't complain. I don't have my breasts and I don't have my female parts, but I am great. My life, nothing has changed.
And
I
you
am
are
still able to be a
still
wonderful
a
wife.
gorgeous
I can
woman.
handle everything that comes my way. I have limitations, I guess, kind of on lifting and stuff sometimes. But other than that, I mean, my life has picked right back up. So God has been good. He truly gave me a second chance, and life has been totally different since then. The things that used to bother me don't bother me. Things that I would stress about, like, it's so trivial now. You know, I got a second chance, and I got to do this right. So I've always had a really, really, really big heart. I just, you know, I've always been a tough love person. But you know, when I love you, I love hard. And I'll give anybody the shirt off of my back, and I go to the wall for my people, and they know that. So it's just amplified now. Now it's just amplified. I'm just super, super loving and super caring, and I spend more time with my family, take more time for myself where I wasn't doing that. I missed so many baby showers and weddings and things like that for coaching and running behind other people's kids. And I still love that and I still do it. But now I put things into perspective. I'm not going to miss things because I'm trying to be great at this too. So what I want to be great at is just being a great child of God, a great human being, not just necessarily being a great coach and a great teacher. It's more to me than that. Although those are my favorites, it's more to me than that. So
That's right. So let's talk a little bit as we wrap it up about what's the next step for this journey, because you're not wasting this new life. I can see it in you right now. What's the next phase? What's going to happen from here?
I don't know the next phase. I have mama kicked the can on. Maybe you should write a book. I'm not a writer. So I don't know if I write a book, I'd have to have a ghostwriter and I just tell the story and they write it. I'm not a book writer, so that's not my calling. Um, I like to talk. So if somebody asks me to do this, I don't mind telling it. I do not mind telling my story. I don't mind telling my truth. So I'm okay with that. Dr. Martin has, you know, connected me with people, patients of his that I've got to connect with and talk to. I love doing that. I've worked with my friend Wendy at American Cancer Society there in Jackson, Mississippi, and I've gotten to do a lot of great things, meet great people through that. So I just like just sharing my story, pushing through, telling people that, you know, you can do anything. And there are people that have fought battles far greater than mine. You know, I went through chemo, I went through surgeries, we've never seen this before, but there are people that have lost the battle. And when I say lost, I don't mean they still won because they won on the other side, but they went to another place to win the battle.
Right.
But winning on this side, I want to make sure that my story is heard and that somebody understands that somebody in this struggle can just really see that you can still make it. You can still stand up in this, even on your worst days. You can be great. You can be beautiful. You can push through. Don't let anybody, you know, dictate what you can and can't do. Everything they said I couldn't do, I said I do. I will do. They told me I wouldn't have full range of motion in this right arm after surgery. And I remember coming from surgery, I could only get my arms up this high. They had removed lymph nodes. I had my entire chest opened up completely opened up. And when I saw how the the breast surgery is performed, you're laying down when they remove it. But when the plastic surgeon comes in to put everything, they sit you up in there. Your chest is open. When I saw all of that and realized what I had been through, it's like, don't let people tell you what you can't do. I started exercising, doing wall crawls with these arms. And before I knew it, I can get them all the way up. I can do everything I want to do with them. So, push through. Don't let people tell you your limits. So I don't know. I really don't know what's next. I just want to keep telling my story. I just want to keep inspiring if I can. I want to keep motivating. I want to keep pushing. I don't want anybody, I have that savior syndrome, or that what they call the sad puppy syndrome, the wounded puppy syndrome, where, I see people that may not be where they want to be or be in the best of luck at the time. And I just feel like I can help them. I just want to help. I just want to be there. I want to fix it. I have a fix it personality. So that's always next for me. Fix it. How can I help? How can I fix it? What can I do? So
Well,
that's
you
next for me.
definitely have a story of victory, my friend. And you don't know how much you've inspired me. And I've told you this before. I've sent you messages and told you how your story affected me, because I'm just like, we're the same age.
Mhm.
We're in that same range. And when you think about it, between you and my very close friend, that made me go get a mammogram because I was concerned and things like that, things that you wouldn't normally think about. And so it's so important that we have those conversations in our community. It's so important that we talk to survivors. And
Yes.
we know, okay, tell me about your experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Tell me about the things that nobody else is going to let me know about, so that if I'm going through this battle, I don't feel like I'm going through it by myself, or that every discovery is a new discovery. Because
Absolutely.
now with some of the things that you experience, they can't say, we've never seen this before. You have. This is what was done. And you can have victory over that too. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the woman that you are. Your beauty emanates like from inside out. It's just who you are and who you've always been. And I'm just so impressed with this. I don't even want to call it a battle.
Mhm.
I have to call it a victory,
Mhm.
because the way that you have been victorious in this, and even though your life has changed as a result of it, the way you've adapted to those changes just shows who you are in Christ immediately. You are truly a dope Black woman of every descriptive that we have. And so I'm very proud of that. If there's one word that could describe who you are, or affirm who you are, what would that word be?
I think the one word that affirms who I am is actually my middle name. My dad gave it to me, and that's grace. That's
Agree.
grace. Grace is an undeserved gift. It's something that we're all extended, that we did absolutely nothing to get, and it's just because God loves us. And I know that grace is all over me. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
that I am a picture of grace. I know that grace means so much to me in more ways than one. So grace is just, people call me that. That's my name. My dad picked that on purpose, and it has been the testimony of my life. Just grace. God has been so good to me, and I'm not ashamed to tell people who He is and what He's done for me. I can't tell you about what He did for somebody else, but I know what the man did for me, and grace is everything. It is
That's right.
everything.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Chandra Grace, for coming and sharing your story with us. Everybody, be sure to follow her story. Would you share your social media handle so that they know how they can follow you?
Okay, my social media on IG, I am his_grace, HIS_grace 81. And on Facebook, I am Chandra Grace on Facebook.
Yes, my Seaway classmate, class of 2000. Yes,
Yes,
representing. I love you, girl. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for
you
being the
too.
dope Black woman that you are, the dope Black victorious survivor that you are. And I got a feeling there's some more to come. We're gonna have to collaborate a little bit more. So
All
I
right,
got a
let's
feeling
do
there's gonna
this.
be more to come with Miss Chandra Grace. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
this time.
Thank you. Love you too.
Love you more.
Bye bye.